No, mai, haere mai. Welcome to the CHA Hub presentation. This is essentially an online knowledge and training platform we are in the process of developing, we being Community Housing Aotearoa, a peak body for community housing providers across Aotearoa, and Sideways 8 Media in collaboration with our members. Our vision as an organisation is that all people have the right to a decent home. Those rights are well defined by the United Nations, and we would say this requires a deep system change within the New Zealand housing system. I'd also say that we have, to a large degree, already got the solutions that we need available across the New Zealand housing system. We simply need to share those stories, provide that evidence, and spread them more widely and scale the solutions that we have in place already. So I really do argue we have the ability to solve our housing crisis with the resources and with the knowledge and with the experience that we have. However, the need has never been greater. Almost by every measure, our housing system is continuing to degrade and fail our people. We now have the worst rental affordability in the OECD, and this gives pause for contemplation. Unfortunately, New Zealand and our housing system is leading the world in a whole range of areas which, quite frankly, we should be ashamed about. Our housing system, our housing market has failed to deliver for all our people, and there is a lot of work to do to turn this around. But we've got some good news coming because the future is a hopeful future, and that is what the CHA Hub is all about. Community Housing Aotearoa, better known as CHA, has an important role within the New Zealand housing system. We are a charitable, incorporated society with members all across the country. Many of those members are what are called registered community housing providers. So they're regulated by the Community Housing Regulatory Authority and through the DIA because they are charities. And we really serve anyone, any organisation, any person, regardless of whether they're a CHIP or not. We try to help them and to support them to make a positive difference in terms of how their housing meets the needs of their people and their respective communities every day. This is an expression of our aims for our people, and really we're wanting them to have safe and affordable and long-term, that's secure tenure homes, and we want that for everyone. The objectives of the hub, the CHA Hub, and the quarterly publications are broad and varied. We're really, I suppose, in the first instance, seeking to support our members and community housing providers through sharing our stories and sharing our knowledge and sharing our working practices and our housing plans and our capability and our capacity, and sharing the inspiration of those things that are going really well, that we're doing, that are working well, and doing more of that more often in more places. So that's really number one. One of the key objectives of CHA and all community housing providers is to influence positive change, particularly with regards to policy, because all good functioning housing outcomes are actually the result of beginning with the writing and implementation of really good policy. So to this extent, we work very closely with HUD, with Kāinga Ora, with our members and communities and local government to provide evidence of what works and why it works, taking into account international best practice as well as what we're seeing working in the New Zealand context, so we can help improve the policy environment and create the conditions for a better functioning housing system. One of the big objectives for us in establishing the CHA Hub and the publications is around creating sustainable change and bringing everybody, including Middle New Zealand, the homeowning democracy, bringing them along on the journey with us. As Rebecca McPhee said in her landmark article, The Great Divide, which was published in North and South magazine, New Zealand is becoming a society divided by who owns houses and who doesn't. And that trend has become markedly worse in recent years, particularly as part of our COVID response as one of the unintended consequences. So really, for sustainable change and to make our politicians feel safe to do the right thing and to write the right policy, we need all New Zealanders to realise that we're in this waka together and that we need to change and reduce the extent to which our housing is commoditised and financialised, and start changing the way the system works to make sure that it serves the needs of all our people, not just those who can afford to own their own home.
Kia ora, I'm Craig, and I specialise in digital strategy, platforms and content. I'm going to take a few minutes just to talk you through the features of the CHAR Hub, but first I think it'd be helpful to give you some context. Most importantly, this type of project has been done many times before very successfully. Back in the early 2000s, whilst I was still in the UK, I worked with a team on a project for an organisation called Sustainability. And there are many similarities to what we are looking to achieve with the CHAR Hub. So sustainability over the years has become the world's leading think tank on sustainable business practices, responsible for changing the whole sustainability landscape and enabling the change in corporate and social responsibility amongst many of the world's largest companies. One of the key issues that sustainability had was they needed to reach the policymakers. They needed to influence policy, not just in the short term, but make a permanent change in the whole landscape. This was done primarily by gathering evidence and best practice from experts in their respective fields from around the globe, using case studies, data, lived experiences, etc. Here you can see some images from the website platform in its early iteration, together with some of the organizations and case studies published on the platform. So we worked together with large organizations such as Nike or Nestle or Coca-Cola, Ford, etc., to help them understand and identify impacts on the planet and work practices in different territories around the world in which they operated, produce policies to help ensure their business had a sustainable model. One of the things that was really successful in helping sustainability achieve this was to concentrate on things we called topic sprints. So they would choose an individual topic of interest, really research and provide all the evidence and do all the insight based around that topic. Each of these 3-month topic sprints accumulated in publication of a report, and the content from that publication was also disseminated out onto their website and other digital tools that they used at the time. The physical paper-based publications and reports were key to reaching important policymakers and industry leaders. Also, they were lodged with the UK National Archives as a document of importance. Here on this slide, you can see some of the covers of the reports with some of the topics that we covered. So ultimately, what we did was we built a library of evidence that influenced long-term change. The sheer weight of evidence, data, case studies, and lived experiences changed the whole sustainability and CSR landscape forever. Best practice was proved, and this translated into long-term systemic change for the industry. Even when changes in leadership in the companies took place, the level of this evidence was such that the policy continued in the right direction. So this approach has been used widely on projects around the world, not just sustainability. And there is no doubt that this will help bring wider awareness and systemic change in the housing system here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So what is the CHAR Hub? First and foremost, it's an online knowledge base and publication, a website platform, a training and workforce development tool, a communication and engagement tool, and a social media and traditional media campaign driver. So before we go through the stages of this project that we would like your help with, I think it'd be useful to give some context to what we've been up to date. It all started at the CHAR conference in Autoducky, Christchurch in 2023, when we completed a series of interviews and case studies to help us produce this proof of concept. We've been busy up to now gathering deep dive interviews and evidence from experts, getting insights into best practice within the housing sector.
The rationale prior to the 1990s was that the market was okay for most people, but for poorer people, it wasn't possible to get the stability that was needed. And so that's where the government came in and provided help. So it didn't create welfare dependency, it put people into housing, it created independence from
So as you can see from that last slide, we have hundreds of hours, thousands of words of shared wisdom and truth from experts around the world. From the gathered content, we have produced films, podcasts, articles, case studies, and other content. Using story and insights to help us build this library of evidence to help facilitate the changes needed in the housing sector. Over the past few months, we have self-funded and been gathering enough evidence and content to help us populate and complete stage 1 of the CHAR Hub. So let's look at the hub in slightly more detail. So primarily, as we say, we're creating a library of evidence here. So what does this library of evidence look like? Firstly, a library is only as good as its body of information and curation. So a key part of the hub is to have content curation and a full-time library manager at the heart of the process. Along with the platform content, physical publication will be released every 3 months, highlighting the subject area of interest. Content will be made available in multiple formats, long form and short form, in both video and podcast formats, together with articles, case studies, and lived experience. Importantly, also, research and data reporting will form a key part of the platform as it matures. A key role of the hub is to provide a long-term set of workforce development and training tools and resources, providing shared spaces, if you like, for collaboration, learning and communication for those involved in the housing sector, both CHPs and other organisations and government bodies. Our plan is for each 3-month topic sprint will conclude in a publication called Place or Our Place. Each publication will be given an ISBN number and lodged with the National Archive. Here on this slide, you can see some example covers from topic sprints we've identified for publication between now and the end of 2027. Each report publication will be initially free to a selected distribution list. Short-run digital printing will help us keep the cost of publication to extremely low and efficient, and also enable short additional print runs if required. I guess our lessons from sustainability was that frequently policymakers and time-poor leaders were far more receptive to a physical report or publication and more likely to read that information in depth than viewing it online in PDF or other format. The publication process obviously also generates the topic content for the digital platform. Using this process, we will deliver a synchronized content pipeline, gathering the content, identifying a topic sprint, producing the publication, using that information in the publication to populate the CHAR Hub website, and spreading the word through social and traditional media campaigns. This process helps us to stay focused and providing in-depth knowledge and evidence on a broad range of topics. The image above shows an example of a topic of inclusionary zoning, where we have the place publication report on the left and the topic homepage on the CHAR Hub on the right-hand side. So let's take a look at some examples of the user experience and the way resources will be populated on the CHAR Hub. Here we can see the homepage of the Hub. The site will have very simple navigation with no large menus and clear sections of interest. At the top of the page, the current topic sprint is highlighted with options to learn more or request a physical publication. Beneath there, we will use sections to highlight featured content, and below there, a list of the latest resources available on the Hub. Further down the page, we will include highlights to links to podcasts and long-form content on all the main platforms, case study films and articles, and a simple section where the user can explore the main categories and topics of interest to dive into in more detail. So let's take a look at the user experience, the flow from section to section to help users find information they're interested in quickly and efficiently, and also provide areas of further reading and additional resources. So again, here's the homepage with the inclusionary zoning topic banner at the top. If a user clicks on the banner, it will take them through to an individual topic homepage. Each topic homepage will have an overview section at the top, together with key topic resources with links to view online content, request a physical publication of the topic, etc. A section will also list all the resources in the knowledge base for this particular topic, some highlights from there, and an option to view them all. Further down the topic page, there will be links to case studies about the topic, podcasts, and further articles. Using that page as an example, if somebody were to click through to a particular resource, let's here take, for example, the Kayanga Maha case study in Otaki Christchurch. When they click on that, they will be taken through to the full resource article. Each article can have other resources assigned to it for further reading, together with downloads and links related to the resource, as you can see in the section at the bottom of the page. The deep dive interviews form a central role in gathering evidence and knowledge from experts in their fields. There is a live page online of the beta version of the CHAR Hub that we've included a link for in the notes of this presentation. You can take some time to explore these to get a flavour of this important resource format. Another key part of the CHAR Hub is MyCHAR. This is part of the platform where people can register, select categories and topics they're interested in, create a personal library of selected resources which they can share with their colleagues. This part of the platform will also drive the ability to have automated personal communication with each user, enable private teams and resources for groups of users, deliver workforce training and development tools, and also allow users to submit content to the CHAR Hub. So let's take a look at some example content and how we use a single asset. We recently undertook a series of interviews, case studies, and lived experiences in the Queenstown Lakes region. One of these was a deep dive interview with Julie Scott from the Queenstown Lakes Housing Trust on the important subject of inclusionary housing. So let's take a quick look how this single deep dive asset will be used to generate multiple content on the Hub.
Julie, thank you so much for taking the time. It's lovely to be here in your hometown of Queenstown. Thanks for taking the time to be with us.
It's a pleasure.
I wonder if we could start, please, with a brief overview from your perspective about the current state of housing as it relates to the communities in the Queenstown Lakes area at this point in time.
All content that we capture or film is to broadcast standard and will be delivered online through the Hub, YouTube, and other social media platforms for viewing on a variety of devices. Long-form podcasts are obviously becoming increasingly popular. The audio from each deep dive will be published to the CHAR Hub podcast channels. The audio from these deep dives will also be transcribed, and this will allow us to both provide an audio transcription of that resource and also an opportunity to use these deep dives as full-length articles or extracts in the quarterly publications, Here you can see an example of some pages from a deep dive interview we filmed with Ganesh Nana, which has been transcribed and laid out as an article in the Place publication. Importantly, the content we gather will also be used to drive social media campaigns to raise wider general public awareness of housing issues and solutions. And traditional media will also be used to help people discover the topics covering issues that affect all of us. Social and traditional media campaigns will also be targeted towards special interest groups and policymakers to help inform them and influence policy change. Together with the deep dive interviews, we will also be producing a series of case studies of success stories and best practice from around New Zealand. In this short clip, we can see some segments from case studies we have captured in Otaki Christchurch, at the Peterborough Housing Co-op, Oxford Terrace, and Guild Street communities. Each of these case studies will be provided in long form and short form highlights. At each location, we spoke with residents, project managers, and leaders.
It's been an absolutely fantastic journey. It's just about killed us, but it's been a fantastic, and actually it's a journey that's worth doing. It's been unbelievably hard, and it's worth it.
If you want to partner with communities, then maybe consider, instead of coming up with policies of what you want to do and telling communities, make your community into this, maybe start asking communities what it is communities want to do and consider funding that.
I believe that when a child feels safe in an environment, whether it's home or a community, he or she would have that confidence as well as the ability to handle things herself or himself and be happy.
Yeah, one of the learnings that we've gained from this is that us as a community, an NGO or a community housing provider, we can provide housing if we have the land. And so it's like if people free up land for us and then the government comes on board and offers us some funding to actually put the houses up, it's actually an amazing partnership. It all works together. So that's our learning. It's like, let's don't do it alone. Let's do it as a collective across NGO, government, churches.
Thank you, Craig, for giving us an overview of progress to date, the functions and the content of the CHA Hub and the Our Place publications. Now it's the point at which we ask for some help, helping us to make it happen. We've invested quite heavily as Sideways 8 Media and Community Housing Aotearoa to get to this point, and we're now looking for support to complete the delivery of Stage 1 and to run us through Stages 2 and 3 to the end of 2027. That really our objective to deliver the fully functional Stage 1 by the time we have our conference at the end of November in 2024 is a reasonably significant investment of $120,000 that we're looking for. We, as I said earlier, as CHA have invested over $65,000. Sideways 8 Media, our production partner, have nearly spent $50,000 of pro bono work in this space. And as we move through Stages 1, we really want to have some certainty for years 2, 3 and 4, and the total investment that we're looking for over that next sort of 2 or 3 years is in the magnitude of about $400,000, which includes the ongoing development of the software, the back end, which is CapEx, the ongoing development of the content, which is also CapEx, and then it's a curator librarian function to gather, to categorize, to curate, to save, and to disseminate and promote the content to the widest possible audience. With regards to the future development of the CHA Hub, obviously you can see Stages 1 through 4 to the right-hand side there. Some of those can run concurrently, and we'll continue to develop improved functionality deeper and broader evidence and more influence and reach. It's important that you also know we have a plan to decrease our reliance on government and philanthropic funding by developing fee-for-service aspects and a paywall such that the hub becomes self-sustaining and financially sustainable by the end of 2027. And it will be a significant milestone for us. So we're really asking for your help. Please do consider investing in the future of our organisation and its ability to serve its members. And thank you very much for taking the time to look at this presentation today.